What's up, YouTube? This is 82 and 0. I want to talk about one of the most forgotten superstars uh, that you've never heard of, or unless you're a diehard basketball historian, you probably never heard of him. So, Marques Haynes, born March 10th, 1926, and he passed away actually pretty recently, May 22nd, 2015. He was 89 years old. One of the greatest players to never play in the NBA. So, as a child, he learned to dribble a ball in a dirt yard from his home. And he attended Booker T. Washington High School and received a $25 church scholarship to play basketball for Langston University, where he attended from 1942 to 1946. During his time with Langston Lions, the team racked up a winning record of 112 wins and 3 losses, including a 59-game win streak. In a February 1949 conference tournament game, Haynes showed off his dribbling skills for more than 2 minutes, running down the clock on a solid lead to ridicule the opponent, Southern University. In 1946, Langston was invited to play an exhibition game against the Globetrotters in Oklahoma City. In that game, Haynes led Langston to a 4-point win, catching the eye of the team owner, Abe Saperstein, which I should do a video about sometime. Abe Saperstein. He was invited to join the Globetrotters after completing his degree. So, prior to joining the Globetrotters, Haynes briefly played for the Kansas City Stars of the Black Professional Basketball League. So, the Globetrotters, I'm sure everybody's heard of them, but maybe a lot of people don't know that they were an actual basketball team. So they started actually in the 1930s, I want to say. But they played throughout, well, actually like 1926, 27, but they played throughout the 30s and 40s and 50s. It was kind of a barnstorming team. But they actually made a professional league. So prior to the NBA, there was what was called the NBL. Now they had what was kind of I'm trying to think how to explain it. It's kind of like an NBL. It's kind of like a World Cup, but it's not really all. Just hear me out. It was kind of like a World Cup minus all these countries. So the NBL would participate in a basketball tournament, right? Rather than having an a championship, right? They would compete with all these basketball teams from all these other leagues in America. And what happened was the Harlem Globetrotters actually managed to make it in the NBL tournament. I keep wanting to say NBA. I apologize. I'm just so used to talking about NBA related stuff. But anyways, they made the tournament and they won. So the Globetrotters were not scrubs. They were pretty well known as just being entertainers, but they themselves were actually respectable basketball players. Yeah, they did those antics, but from what I read and watched in footage and listened to interviews of Abe Saperstein, the coach and owner of the Globetrotters, they came up with those antics in order to preserve some of their energy, but at the same time increase sales. People would want to come see them. But they were also respectable athletes who wanted to win. They, you know what I mean? They took losing pretty hard. They weren't a clown show, is what some people think. Uh, So yeah, the NBL was a standalone basketball league, but they participated in that tournament, like I told you, and the Globetrotters won. And the Globetrotters, they also defeated the Minneapolis Lakers. Uh, they did a lot of exhibition games with like the Lakers, Celtics. But anyways, the name of that tournament was called the Professional Basketball. Well, there were three leagues back then: the BAA, Basketball Association of America, Professional Basketball League of America, and the NBL. Now you see why they all merged. But they had this tournament. And like I said, the Globetrotters, they won it. So why am I talking about Marques Haynes? He's one of the greatest dribblers of all time. One of the best ball handlers of all time. Him and Goose Tatum were the leaders, or the best players on those Globetrotter teams. And neither one of them played in the NBA. Yeah, Nate Sweetwater Clifton did. And Clifton is getting a movie about him. But Haynes is pretty forgotten. So I just wanted to shed light on him. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of footage of him around anymore. He played with the Globetrotters from 1947 to 1953. One of the exhibition games that he played in was in West Berlin in 1951, where they had 75,000 people in attendance. Haynes later said that it was closer to 90,000. It's been disputed. The number has been high as 90,000, but we know it's at least 75,000. Now, in 1953, Haynes left the Globetrotters, and he split with Abe Saperstein, the owner. After quitting the team, he turned down a $35,000 a year offer from the Philadelphia Warriors. That would have made him the second highest paid player in the NBA. But he went on to form his own barnstorming team, the Harlem Magicians. And after finding out that Saperstein was part owner of the Warriors, he also received an offer to play for the Minneapolis Lakers in 1955. But he turned down that opportunity as well. Despite a series of legal battles with Saperstein, Haynes attended his funeral in 1966, although later he joked that he was only there to make sure he didn't jump out of the casket. Some of the players who were under Saperstein loved him. Some of them had fallen outs with him. So I'm not here to tell you if he was a good or bad guy. I think it's a business. And unfortunately, they had a fallen out. But check this out, right? Haynes retired in 1992 after a 46-year professional career. And he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame. He played a long time. He played in a lot of smaller leagues. And not only that is, when I say retired, I don't mean necessarily just as a player. He tried to start his own barnstorming leagues. He tried to be an owner. He gave up with everything in 1992 is what I mean. But let's talk about if he would have made the NBA. Because he was one of the greatest players on the planet in the 1940s, right? Let's say he actually made the Philadelphia Warriors in the 50s. He could have won championships and been talked about like a Bill Russell. So this is just my video. I'm trying to spread the word about forgotten players. But I do want to mention this, because there is a misconception that players of the past, right, particularly 1950s, 1960s players couldn't dribble. And that couldn't be further from the truth. The NBA itself was pretty strict about dribbling. That's why you see they had their hands so low to the ground when they were dribbling, and it looks odd. But when you saw them outside of NBA games, they knew what they were doing when it came to crossovers, ball hand. You know, you got to understand the games were called a lot differently. So when you look at these Harlem Globetrotter games, they didn't have those rules. So guys like Haynes were master magicians when it came to dribbling. Like a Kyrie Irving of the time. Actually, it's said that Haynes could dribble the ball 348 times a minute. So let me know what your thoughts are down below, and thanks for watching.
Mr. Saperstein?
Yeah?
I'd like to talk to you.
It's a crazy hour for a conversation. What time is it?
It's a little after 2.
Oh.
I'm sorry to wake you, Mr. Saperstein. I tried to get to the game tonight, but hitchhiking is kind of tough.
Well, you can come around here next year the same time. We'll have a nice long talk.
That'll be too late. I've got to decide now whether to play pro ball or get into some kind of a business.
Oh, you want to try out for the team, huh? Well, it's a little late for that. We leave at 5. We have a long hop tomorrow, and there's no chance to see what you like.
I could show you right here.
In this hallway, you're crazy.
You play basketball, don't you?
A little.
I could pass you in this corridor.
Now I know you're crazy. You couldn't pass me on a 4-lane highway, let alone this corridor. Why, hear this? The walls would do half the guarding for me.
I still think I could get past you.
All right.
I didn't know the game had started.